And now we go to the second architect, very different architect, because he lived in the 19th century, and it is his birthday today too. And just like in the case of Charles Moore, it's not a opulent presentation, but it's an invitation to reflect on an architect who is, at least in this part of the world, in our country and maybe in Europe in general, is less known. So Richard Morris Hunt, also North American. Let's read about him. Richard Morris Hunt, born on October 31st, just like Charles Moore and Zaha Hadid, was an American architect of the 19th century and an eminent figure in the history of American architecture. He helped shape New York City with his designs for the 1902 entrance facade and Great Hall of the Metropolitan Museum of Art, the pedestal of the Statue of Liberty, Liberty enlightening the world. You know very well that paradigmatic New York work, and many Fifth Avenue mansions since destroyed. That's a problem. Many works by him had been destroyed. Hunt is also renowned for his Biltmore Estate, America's largest private house near Asheville, North Carolina, and for his elaborate summer cottages in Newport, Rhode Island, which set a new standard of ostentation for the social elite and the newly minted millionaires of the Gilded Age. This was the man, and doesn't matter how triumphant one is in life, life is short, and is short for all of us, and one day it will end. So again, perhaps we should be a little bit humbled by knowing this or remembering this. Now, you are going to see a painting by an important North American painter, John Singer Sargent, who painted is a portrait of Richard Morris Hunt from 1895. And, you know, he's presented in a rather romantic posture, but you can tell that this is a man fighter. And with his success at his disposal, maybe he didn't have to fight so much. But, you know, since architecture is a complex medium, I guess to be a warrior helps. Drawings, some drawings by Richard Morris Hunt. Yes, 19th century, mid-19th century, you know, handwork, manual work, watercolor a little bit. Here you see a very elaborate, you know, fence, you know, somehow, if I contemplate these works from the 21st century, I kind of miss them. I miss not so much this, but this, where you have this embroidery in iron, forged iron. Anyway, some watercolors, you know, he was trained, you know, in the Beaux-Arts tradition. So, you know, he didn't have Photoshop and scripting and programming and all the rest. Anyway, now a house which was destroyed, I would say tragically, because this Petit Chateau from 1886 was quite a remarkable building, if not very original. But I mean, the context where it was placed, I think it was striking. So it was built for this famous name, you know, Vanderbilt. And look at this, you know, it's yes, it's a chateau. Yes, it is nostalgically referring to Europe, but somehow, you know, from the perspective of the 21st century, I'm not critical towards this architecture. It's rich. It has, well, it doesn't any longer because it was demolished. I don't know why it was demolished, but it was demolished. And there are interesting things here that we don't even think of, in our time, to place a sculpture here, or, with this kind of ornaments. And, there is so much variety just in this corner of the building. And of course, this was the case in the past, in the more remote past. And look at this, compare these buildings here with this one. Well, it's true. It's a chateau. It was built for Vanderbilt. It was built for someone with the means to build a chateau in the middle of the city. But again, compare this building and these buildings with this one. And, these were not destroyed. It was destroyed, this one. And I don't know why, actually. It's hard for me to believe that it didn't, structurally was not built properly or anything, because this was a building with, probably unlimited budget. And we are going to see also the largest house ever built in the United States for the same client and by the same architect. I like this building. Now you could say I have a retrograde spirit or whatever, but I like it, and I think this building could have looked good in almost any important European city, and maybe not only European. The interior is also very opulent. Look at that staircase. There is skill here. Richard Morris Hunt was a skillful architect. Look at this, room, if we can call it a room. Yes, Adolf Loos probably would have collapsed, but, Adolf Loos had his opinions about architecture, and they are not the only ones. There are other opinions about architecture. Anyway, I personally would not have been very displeased to have such a room at my disposal, but I don't. And look, even here, it's just a small detail, the entrance into the building. There is variety and there is skill, and it was destroyed. And other buildings by him had been destroyed, like this one. And this one was destroyed rather, well, not recently, but, well, in much more recently than the other one. The New York Tribune is this building here. I lived in New York City for many years, but I don't remember seeing something like this. Maybe these buildings also were destroyed. But what we look at here is actually remarkable. And yes, this building was destroyed, but I think I have an image here showing cars. So it means it was destroyed after the Second World War. I don't know in what year. Anyway, but even here, look at the richness of the facade. Yes, of course, we wouldn't easily accept something like this or even like this, but we cannot deny, richness. And there is the vigor of rhythm. It's I don't know about this Campanile, but anyway, the 19th century, Richard Morris Hunt. They obviously had a liking of Europe, so there was a strong tendency to import, a so-called cultured architecture from Europe. And somehow, in the context of America, of the Brave New World, where the dimensions were very different from Europe. I mean, this kind of tall building like this in Europe would have been, the talk of the town, if not the whole of Europe. Well, in Manhattan, was different. I regret it was destroyed. It was, and he had other buildings. This is a short presentation, actually, If you search on the web for Richard Morris Hunt, you'll find many more examples. Now, this is a building in Rhode Island, 1888. It's another chateau in a way, but you cannot deny the harmony of the facade and the distribution of the various parts of the building. They are articulated properly. Okay, it's not a, it's not an avant-garde building. It's not a radical building. There are historical precedents, but I think in the absence of the European aristocracy, he did a good job in, serving the so-called the new money, the new rich peoples. And now we arrive at the largest private house, which was designed for George Washington Vanderbilt II between 1890 and 1895. And big it is. And you would say this was built for a king. Look at this. Actually, I think it's good. Yes, it's not, a certain chateau built for Francois Premier, but, again, I wouldn't mind at all if it was if I had a chance to live here, even in the 21st century. And even if I dislike historicism, but I think it's built with grace, and there is a harmonious spirit here at work. Yeah, it's not a very original architecture, it is true, but it has virtues, which shows that perhaps what I kept saying in my previous talks, that we have to advocate the new and only the new and only the new. But I think it's also possible in architecture to create, to build buildings which are not radically new, but still respond to the name architecture. Although you would say, what does this have to do with the T model of Henry Ford, with the realities of, well, it was built in the 19th century, but, and clearly it had a liking for Europe. This is the library, a very opulent library. Look at this. I mean, wow, all those books there on those shelves. Yes, this was not built for anybody. This was built for somebody. And look, even on that table, there are books one near the other, and what can we say? A rich America. I mean, this person was rich in the United States. There is significant poverty for a large segment of the population, but this building was not built for that segment. Anyway, sculptures and a lot of ornamentation and color and books. How much can one read? I like books too, and I have the vice of acquiring books, and it is a vice. How much can you read? Really, because the day has only 24 hours. Doesn't matter your desire to know. Anyway, a Vanderbilt library, we are talking here about very powerful people from the point of view of having money. Now, the administration building at the World's Columbian Exposition in Chicago from 1893. Here it is. And this was also destroyed. You might not like this kind of historicist building, but you cannot contest certain values that it has. Everything that you see here vanished. It was destroyed. This is the destiny of world exhibitions, unfortunately. So he designed this building, this, it's called the administration building. 1895, 1893, 1893, yes. Now, I don't think it was warmer then than now, but why is it that now nobody is using umbrellas to, protect one from the sunlight? But they did it at that time, as you can see. Chicago. It's kind of funny, that here we have the Brave New World advocating democracy, and we have here an imperial statue, quite, impressive, imported straight from imperial Rome. And you wonder, I mean, the court of honor. So this was the building by Richard Morris Hunt, the administration building. A lot of work went into building this building and building everything that you see here, or that you saw here, and now it's all gone. A different world, of course, a different world, but somehow it does have certain virtues that maybe we should reflect upon. Now, the Richard Morris Hunt's last design, and with this I end this short presentation, it's the Cathedral of All Souls. It's not really a cathedral, but it's a smaller building. But I first came across this image, which I liked, because it's almost modern. I mean, this part of the building, I think, is with its strict geometry and austerity, I think, could be called modern. Unfortunately, as a whole, the building is not like this. Anyway, apparently he designed, if I remember correctly, 14 or 16 churches, but only 6 were built, and the only one that survived the passage of time or the bulldozer is this one. Richard Morris Hunt. And apparently, this was the last design that he ever made before he died. Okay, so let's wish him happy birthday.